Hi, Josh. Are we starting? Okay. Can we show the slide from the beginning? It's a Caregiver Resource Center OC, the intro slide. Okay, there you go. So Evelyn is going to start on from here. So is she connected? Okay, go ahead, Evelyn.
Thank you, Peter. So first and foremost, thank you everybody for joining us today. We are the Caregiver Resource Center of Orange County. So thank you for everybody who joined us this month for our live stream. We want to just start by introducing ourselves. My name is Evelyn, and I am a community liaison at the Caregiver Resource Center of Orange County. And I'll be joined today for this live stream with Peter Nguyen, who is a family consultant at the center. Before we start discussing emotions and coping together, during this journey, we just want to do a brief overview of the center and the resources and services that we provide for the community. Next slide, please. So who is the Caregiver Resource Center of Orange County, CRC OC for short? We are a trusted partner for Orange County families coping with physical, emotional, and financial responsibilities of caregiving. So as our name dictates, our primary focus for services and the support that we provide our family caregivers in Orange County. A little bit about the CRCOC. We have been serving Orange County since 1988. We are a program of St. Jude Community Services within Providence St. Joseph Health Community Health Investment. But however, we don't receive any funds from Providence because we are part of the California Caregiver Resource System. So we receive our funds from the Federal Older Americans Act and Family Caregiver Support Program that allows us to give our services and our resources to the community for free. So, a little bit about our mission is to increase the quality of life of caregivers by helping families and communities master the challenges of caregiving. Caregiving is so prominent in our communities. You're either impacted directly or indirectly at one point in your life, a mixture of both. So, just knowing that the need is out there and we're there to serve the community with those needs. A little bit about our services. We have green on top and orange on bottom. Green is for anybody in the community who would like to utilize our support. Can be support groups, specialized training, education and training like legal workshops, information referral. And then for the orange, which is counseling, caregiver assessment and care planning, respite assistance, that's only for people who register, so only clients who register with the center. However, for anybody who would like to receive extra support out there is caregiving for someone or just would like to learn more information about what we do, all the other information that I'm presented in green is available. So, what dictates eligibility for CRC OC clients? First and foremost, we do serve all of Orange County, so both the caregiver and care receiver have to reside in Orange County. As for caregivers, it's an adult, so 18 and over, caring for either a person under age 60 with adult onset cognitive brain impairment, that could be early onset Alzheimer's, any form of dementia, Parkinson's, histories of strokes, and/or traumatic brain injury. Now, if they're caring for someone who's over 60, it's just someone who has a chronic illness that will need help with their activities of daily living, and it just has to be a minimum of 2. So that could be walking, that could be bathing, that can be eating, everything that we do on a daily basis. So now, as I mentioned briefly before, we are going to be discussing a little bit about the emotions that are so prominent and dealt with when somebody is caregiving, and then discussing some of the coping mechanisms that might be beneficial and helpful for caregivers who might be navigating these difficult emotions. So I do want to give this opportunity for my colleague Peter to formally introduce himself.
Evelyn. So I am a family consultant, like Evelyn said, with the Caregiver Resource Center for quickly time going by 7.5 years now since 2018. And I have the privilege working with many families in helping them with a variety of things, also focusing on what we call emotional support. And that means sometimes we talk about challenging in caregiving and like anxiety, depression, trauma, stress, stuff like that. Um, that we understand because we work directly with family caregivers. So it's been my honor and privilege in serving many families for over that 7.5 years. I am also a licensed clinical social worker. So by nature, by trade, I am a clinician. So I truly understand the needs for emotional support, for mental health needs, and of course, bias. You can say I am a strong advocate for anyone, just anybody really, not to be caregiver, to understand the importance of mental health, and then we don't want to neglect that. Most of us we do our a yearly checkup physically, but we may not think about, oh, maybe should I do the same, maybe some kind of checkup like that, for our mental health well-being as well.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for all that you do. And I think that's just such a great leeway into our presentation today. I wanted to start off by, Peter, what are some of the frequent emotions that are apparent in caregivers that you have worked with, either directly or indirectly in the community, on your caseloads, counseling? What are some of the emotions that seem to populate?
Very good question, and this can be shown on the next slide too. So I know there are a lot of different emotions, but in my experience and in general, most caregivers are going through this very common emotion that you see on the slide right here: sadness, anxiety, fear, anger, resentment, and guilt. Um, what you see right now is actually my way of looking at this in terms of like like a cycle. So things can happen, maybe to me early can be sadness when people start caregiving, and then going through caregiving their challenges and in their journey, they may now experiencing maybe anxiety, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things that they may not know how to navigate. And then from anxiety, it may it can the great fear, like things that now they may not know whether this is they should do it, not do it, especially when they care for loved ones with dementia, for example. So that obviously bring a lot of uncertainty there. So at the same time, the fear. And then after that, sometimes people may experiencing anger, meaning that they may sort of find themselves, why am I doing this? Why is it me that doing the caregiving, and why not my brother or sister, and so on. So it can become like an anger thing, and then from anger, it can become resentment. And after resentment, people may feel really guilty about all the challenging feelings, right? But to say that in it happened in this cycle, it doesn't mean that one would have to follow in that sequence. Most of the time, we feel what we feel, depending on what being presenting, in front of us, or whatever is the issue in front of us. So then doesn't have to happen in that cycle, like how I put it. But in general, maybe people go through that in terms of just again from the most sort of very feeling that can be very manageable, like sadness. It can lead to something more intense throughout their caregiving journey.
Of course, each emotion difficult on their own, and it just makes the caregiving journey a lot more complicated. So I just want to ask, what are the most difficult emotions from the emotions that you have shared with us right now that are frequently seen and experienced by caregivers that you have come in contact with?
Emotion that we may call it difficult, or or have a hard time managing can be, I think, the bottom three: the anger, the resentment, and the guilt, for the reason that these feelings, maybe people will have a hard time thinking of who to really share those to without feeling being judged, right? Because if we tell someone, our friend or our family, that hey, I have an anger episode at my loved one right now, and maybe the response we don't get like maybe the love, but maybe like, oh, why are you upset at them? They don't know that they are sick, or they don't know that they act certain way, for example. Like they don't get the validation perhaps, but they may get like opinions and those sort of things. Or resentment is a very difficult feeling, right? It implies that you are so upset that you want to quit everything. You don't want to continue anymore. Again, who can anyone share that to? Or guilt. So these are very intense emotion that I think oftentimes a safe place can be support groups or in counseling, which we will talk about more later. But to me, these are the most difficult emotion in the sense that it is difficult to express to any person in terms of our normal circle of network like family or friends.
Of course, and I imagine people who are trying to navigate these difficult emotions, and trying to come to terms with these emotions, they might be interested to know, are there any probable warning signs of those emotions, accumulating or coming to the front place when they're navigating their caregiver journey with their loved one?
Thank you, Evelyn, for the question. I think all emotion are just emotion, and we even put it this way: there are no right or wrong on emotion. We feel what we feel because of whatever happened in front of us. I think to know to identify if this become intense would be maybe look at the frequency of this emotion. How often is it happening, right? So maybe in the beginning, for caregivers, maybe they notice, oh, okay, they may be upset or having an anger episode maybe once in a while, but now they may noticing that it happens every day, or maybe most time or most days in the week, right? So those are indicating something else going on, that they feel that they experiencing that more frequent than not. Something with the other emotion, again, maybe once in a while they feel resentful, right? Or feel guilty about certain thing, but now they really feeling that every day. And every time they feel it, they may even feel the intensity of it. It's not just really a feeling, but they feel maybe even the physical symptom of it too. Sometimes when we experiencing intense emotion, our body also may have physical response that kind of aligning with that. So those are warning sign in a way to understand that, okay, this there is something else deeper here. This is not just something that happened once in a while anymore.
Of course. Thank you for sharing all of that, Peter. It really provides good insight, clinical insight that people can apply to their own selves, right? Um, I wanted to see if we can venture off into the coping mechanisms. If you would just take us to our first one. Next slide.
So this is the first one we want to discuss is journaling. And so today we're going to share with you the three common what we call coping skills. And I say common meaning that most of us, when we watch this, we very likely have heard of this before from someone or some classes, right? Being shared to us about journaling and other things. Now, I want you to watch this and then also look at understanding what is your style, what are your preference, your needs, and then you apply the coping skill that aligning and match your needs and your style. So I'll be honest. I know we talk about journaling now, but I'm not a writer myself. I meaning I don't like to write maybe by hand per se. Maybe I like to type thing or type texting, right? Funny, I do this at work sometime when we do birthday card. I got this all the time. I don't because I use my skill. My handwriting is impossible to read, so I don't write. I like to type stuff. So I type a little nice message and I post it on the card for the coworker. Still, intention there, but it's not writing. But the point here is that, if you like to write, like, the old traditional way, like writing, just writing, this it might be for you. To us and to me, this is just a way to expressing our thoughts and feelings on some kind of platform, some kind of opportunity to put it out, right? So that if you like to write it without talking verbally, like what you're hearing from us right now, then journaling can be a perfect way to do that. And as you can see on the slide here, we see different style of journaling. You can scribble, you can doodle, you can text to yourself, bullet point, long paragraph, you name it. You can just do anything you want in terms of just writing it. You don't have to say like dear diary or dear journal, the very old traditional way of starting like an actual journal. But now we just want to let you know that there are freedom to writing. The whole idea here is that we want you to write, to release your thoughts, release whatever in your mind so that it's on a piece of paper, some kind of thing. Either you can read it back if you want to, or some people like to after they write it, they roll it up in like a ball and they just make it like a basketball. They shoot it into the trash. It's a form to say that it's over. I'm releasing this. I don't want to carry it with me anymore. So whatever it means for you in terms of either keeping it or releasing it, journaling can be a very good method if you like to write.
Of course. Now, going back to the previous slide where we were discussing regarding the emotions, now, what emotions would most likely benefit from journaling practices, as like the ones we were showing on the screen and the ones that you were sharing about? What would most benefit from that?
I think every emotion we can use journaling to write our emotion and release them on paper. But if you say, difficult can be again go back to that bottom three emotion, because again those are emotions are so difficult to share to another human being perhaps. So then I think maybe for some people the idea of just writing it out on paper is great. You can easily write, today I felt so upset at my mom because she just wouldn't listen to me. I tried to provide all this but she's just not following my instruction. I understand, she has dementia or whatnot, but hey, it's just upsetting. I'm doing my best here, right? So you can put all that on paper, and only you can read that, no one else can read that, right? Or something, you feel maybe resentful about something. Maybe this you've been doing this for so many years that no one seemed to understand or give you the support. Right down, put on that piece of paper, journal it out. Say that this is, I know, a difficult emotion, but I feel really resentful today. you know
Of
I know I
course,
shouldn't feel this way
yeah.
or that way, but then it's fine to put it on paper. Again, only you read that, no one else read that. Like I said, sometimes we are our own best friend, because sometimes nobody that we can trust or know that we can tell people about these difficult feelings. Well, journaling can be that way.
Of course, and I know in the beginning you shared that, you're not a big fan of writing. I actually like to write, so I do take on journaling, but, as we shared, there are multiple ways of doing it. So I actually do multiple types of ways. It just depends on how I'm feeling, what I think is best suited for how I'm feeling, and what I'm just overall sensing that day. Sometimes you want to write a lot, sometimes you don't want to write a lot, or sometimes you want to be creative, and sometimes you don't want to be creative, right? But I think that's one of the greatest things about journaling because it's so versatile. There's different ways of doing it. There's no correct way of doing it. It just has to make sense to you. And its whole purpose is to, brain dump, to just share what you have to share, get it out of your system. And no one has to read it. So it's just neat. As you mentioned, it's almost like your best friend. But I'm really interested to see, what other coping mechanisms would you recommend that are similar to journaling and its benefit for those who might not be comfortable with writing?
Thank you. And then, like we talked about in the beginning, we're going to share with you the three common coping skill on this live stream. So the next one that surprise, but this is some again stuff thing that I'm sure we heard before about breath work, meditation, mindfulness, you name it, in the same arena. We just call it different thing. So there are many excuse me, different way to practice breathing as well. But the three, to us, the three kind of common, also practical way that we want to share is what you see on the screen here. First is progressive muscle relaxation, guided imagery, and diaphragmatic belly breathing. So these are the three common breathing exercise or breath work that you can practice in terms of how to use each one for certain thing, certain emotion, certain coping, depending on what you need, and you can use that accordingly.
Of course. Now, I'm interested to know, like, is each breathwork meditation technique like the ones we have on the screen, are they best suited for certain types of emotional states? Like, for example, anxiety and anger, you hear it a lot when you're encouraged to meditate to help feel relief from that anxiety or to help diminish your anger. So I'm just wondering, is there a specific one that's best suited for anxiety or anger, for example?
Great question, Evelyn. So, when I thought of that question, and let's say I look at progressive muscle relaxation, I would think of maybe when we experiencing maybe intense anger, right? And like I shared earlier, when we experiencing certain emotion, our body may also produce certain physical response as well. I'm sure we can all imagine when we really upset, maybe our body feel really tense, like really, really tense. Like nobody hurting us, but we feel that it's just like in pain. Like it's very difficult to explain, but I think I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. So when we do progressive muscle relaxation, we allow the breath to help our body to relax on every body part, from the top to the bottom. And you don't have to do this by yourself. They are guided, meaning that you can just listen to the guided instruction, and then you follow the breath work. And honestly, nowadays, thank you to Dr. Google and Dr. YouTube, we can just search progressive muscle relaxation, and trust me, you can find not one, not two, but not three, but a lot of different video that you find maybe that's best fit to you in terms of the audio, sound, and the different things. Just search progressive muscle relaxation guide. You will find that, and the instruction in general will guide you up how to use your breath to allow your breath to heal your body from top to the bottom. It touch every muscle, every body part in your body. That's why I think for this one, it's practical when we may be experiencing anger because of that an intense physical reaction that maybe our body is producing. Of course, any other emotions, the same thing. Whenever you feel that your body is responding physically in some way, then you can think about practicing progressive muscle relaxation. And
Of course.
guided imagery actually is also, sorry, Evelyn, is a good technique for maybe anxiety. Like sometimes when we thinking about anxiety, meaning we're thinking about the future, we're thinking about things that not here yet, not happening yet, but I make it sound easy, but I have anxiety too, right? We can sit here and really just close our eyes and think about stuff that make us so anxious that we may just want to collapse. So sometimes a good idea is to detach ourselves. By detaching, what I mean is using maybe guided imagery, technique. Basically, the concept is that you're gonna think of a place you like nature, like beach or mountain or park or whatever you like to go, Hawaii, Vietnam, those places, and then you allow your mind to take you there, and you imagine that you're there. And just by doing that, and allow also your breath to guide you throughout that process, you feel more relaxed. When you're more relaxed, you don't really think about anxiety things anymore. That thoughts that make you anxious anymore. So that's why it can work better, more effective if we go through, fear or thoughts that create intense anxiety so then again think about guided imagery. The last one is really it's a general, belly reading is very general, very general for everything almost. It's very easy. Inhale, exhale, exercise. I recommend that most of us should do this maybe 5 minutes a day just to practice that breath work, simple breath work to get some oxygen in, do some deep breathing, and it can just help us relax in general.
Of course. Thank you, Peter, for sharing about all of them. All each technique is unique in its own way, applicable in different situations, and I imagine different environments as well. Which takes us to our next coping mechanism. It's another one that's also strongly encouraged, which is grounding. But I feel like a lot of people out there don't really understand what is grounding. What is a good grounding technique? Peter, would you mind defining grounding for us?
Thank you, Evelyn. So, grounding technique. Well, before we even go into any fancy definition, you can literally think of grounding as like your feet are touching the ground right now. That's grounding. If you kind of purposely feel your feet touching earth, touching the ground, meaning it's implying that you are here right now. You're not going anywhere. Okay, nothing gonna move you, remove you, because right now your feet literally are touching the ground, touching earth. You are grounded to the earth. What you see on the slide is look very colorful, and even I see it. I make me look happy too. Is one technique of grounding. This is what they call the 5 4 3 2 1 sensory method, and that's why you see that the senses are being shown on the slide, right? So why is it 5 4 3 2 1 sensory method? The first one is about five things that you can see. So if I'm asking you right now and sitting around in your environment right now, I'm gonna ask you to name five things that you can see. Okay, so I want you to name that. And then the fourth thing is what can you touch so you can feel right now. So that's the touch sensory. Four things you can touch so that you feel that. And then next is three things you can hear. And then two things you can smell. And one thing you can taste. So basically, when we do this in that sequence, we allow our body and our mind to really focusing on the senses. And we are not allowing our mind and our, to go to think about anything else. Even if we want to be anxious, we want to use it to stop that anxious thinking and then focusing on the senses and on the sensory. Again, the five things you can see, four things you can feel, three things you can hear, two things you can smell, and one thing you can taste. So just go follow that. And I have been challenging anyone watching this right now, practice that and see how your body respond to this grounding technique. There are two more. It's called. We have no time to go in details, but just to name it, you can look it up on your own time. It's called a mental grounding technique, and then the other one would be physical grounding technique. All this is just to using our body, and our mind to allow us to be here physically, the here and now, so that we don't allow our brain, our mind to take us to thoughts that may create, like I say, emotions like anxiety, feelings that make us, we know that it's not helpful to us. But of course, we can't help us, but sometimes our mind will have those thoughts pop up. So that's why we want to introduce this technique to help you to be here now. I think the only way to feel no worries or no anxiety is to be here now, right now.
Of course, thank you, Peter, for going so in depth regarding grounding. Especially as you're mentioning, it's important to be here in the now. And when people are caregiving, they're always in fear of anticipating something happening in the future, something out of their control. And so, it provokes a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear. And as we mentioned, those are one of the most complicated emotions that are strongly and just so frequently experienced amongst caregivers. So thank you for discussing that in detail and just overall discussing all the three common coping mechanisms to help caregivers to cope with their difficult emotions. How would you assist guide someone to find their best, favorite, most beneficial coping mechanism, Peter?
Thank you, Evelyn. So I think I shared this in the beginning, alluding to again, each person, each one of us has a preference, a style that we may feel comfortable with. So again, if you like to write, the writing, then journaling is perfect actually. And even I'm sure you can even look in depth of how to do like intense journaling, different way as well. Like really learn more about in terms of the bread and butter of journaling. Those that like to do meditation, just be with doing our using our breath, then we want to think about breath work, mindfulness activities, meditation. Again, same concept. There are so many schooling out there about meditation. Is so many that it's just because if you are interested, you just have to kind of spend time to look for that, right? And grounding would be, I think, a way to engage, allow our body to engage with the activity. Like you learn about a sensory method. We allow our senses to be the way using it as a way to guide us in practicing the coping skills. So depending also on how your body may respond to emotions. Again, some people may respond more physically, some are more mental. Whatever that may be, you apply the technique that matches the response that you have. So let's say, for example, some people may feel that their body are more easily fatigued, retired because of stress, because of the emotion we talk about. Then even doing more like walking would be okay. Maybe go to the gym. Things that helping with the involving the physical aspect of the coping. Then do those. Now, let's say others that they don't have the physical issue, but they may really feel mentally tired. They feel no motivation. They feel they just want to just crash and sleep, doing nothing. Then you want to apply technique that matches that, helping you to recuperate, to rejuvenate mentally. Again, knowing ourselves very important, knowing our triggers, and then we apply whatever technique and suggestion that matches that level of intensity, either physically or mentally.
Of course, and amongst those techniques, the great thing about our center is that we also provide educational classes, support groups, counseling for clients that help provide those tools or even provide some alleviation from those difficult emotions. We wanted to highlight some of our classes. If we can have that screen. Thank you. So
Ye-
we do offer coping with emotions of caregiving. Sorry, Peter, which is offered in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese in person or online. Powerful tools for caregivers. 6-week class series offered in English and Spanish in person or online. And Journey of Caregiving 3-week class series that's offered in English as well in person or online. I want to give Peter the opportunity if he wants to go a little bit more in depth on these classes and how they would greatly benefit you in attending them.
Thank you, Evelyn. Today's live stream, you watch this for maybe about 30 minutes, so it won't ever be enough time to cover in depth all of the coping mechanism, skills, you name it. So that's why we want to introduce this slide to let you know about our center. We offer this throughout the year, and as you can see, we have coping with emotions of caregiving. That's a one-time class for about 90 minutes on Zoom or in person, in different languages, as you can see. The powerful tools for caregivers is a commitment of 6 weeks. I know six sound long, but trust me, I have taught this so many series. It will go by like just by the flip of the finger, right? So I think don't let the 6 weeks scare you. And I can vouch that once you enroll in the 6 week class and you complete that, I'm going to share using the actual caregiver response and in their survey and feedback that they feel that they become a different caregivers. What do I mean by that? What do they mean by that? They feel that they learn more technique and ways to help themselves to become an effective caregivers. Things that they know is challenging, but they also learn way to kind of enjoy, kind of embrace, kind of find meaning and connection in their caregiving and not just feeling the pain and the challenging all the time. So again, 6 week classes worth your time. Well, if you think 6 is too long, maybe 3 weeks JOC Journey of Caregiving can be like a halfway there. Same concept. We got good feedback from participants sharing to us about how that impact them in terms of learning more about their journey, The good news about JOC Journey of Caregiving is that because it's kind of shortened, then in the curriculum we do have more time to engage and allow people to share too, in compared to powerful tools, which is more, it's scripted, it's curriculum based, so it's less time to share, and discuss stuff. So again, depending on the time you can have, you can do coping with emotion, powerful tools, or journey of caregiving. We try to offer this throughout the calendar year, fiscal year, so that whenever you check out our website, you will see that offer, and I strongly encourage for you to enroll and learn that. In fact, I don't have to encourage too much, because I notice every time we offer this, it's always like a big crowd already registered and wanting to learn. So this is just to, again, we want to introduce this for those that who have maybe first time you're hearing this, to give you a chance to know about this offer, so then you can kind of stay tuned for them.
Yes, and these are great classes, as Peter mentioned, to get those tools in order to navigate your emotions, emotional state, how to navigate those difficult emotions as you feel them arise, or if you already have a lot of those emotions already coupled inside of you, how to untangle them and how to navigate them and how to overcome them. So these classes, they're great classes offered in different ritualities and as well different languages for some. And so it's just finding what works best for you. I know we also offer support groups. We have the in-person support groups and virtual caregiver support groups. Next slide, please. Thank you. So first, we want to highlight the in-person caregiver support groups. As I mentioned in the very beginning, you do not have to be registered with our center to participate. And all these support group information, as well as the educational classes, are available online at our website. So here we have the in-person caregiver support groups. We have them all throughout the week, different time frames, different virtualities, some online, on Zoom, some in person, and we even have a telephonic support group. We offer Vietnamese, English, and Spanish, and some of them are specialized. So we have like a dementia specific, spouses specific, and also like an art support group as well. And some of them are more generalized, so like generic support groups. So it's just finding what works best for you. If you prefer in person, online, or you prefer a specialized one or a generic one as well. So in the next slide, we can show a little bit more about the virtual caregiver support groups. And same thing, you do not have to be registered with our center to participate, and they're all online as well. So if you're interested, please give us a call, or if you look at them online, I believe you're able to connect specifically with the group facilitator and let them know that you're interested, or you can always just give us a call or come in person, whatever you prefer. And we'd be more than happy to assist you with that and register you for the support groups. And they're very beneficial and very helpful, a great tool to have, and just a great space that is very much needed for caregivers as they navigate, specific situations and difficult situations at that not everybody is able to understand. And so that's why we have these safe spaces for caregivers in the community. We also wanted to highlight counseling or counseling services for those clients who register with our center. Peter, if you want to share a little bit about that.
Oh yes. So before I even talk about counseling, so basically counseling and support group is a way for a person to express themselves. So we talk about journaling. That is one way to express ourselves on paper. And for those like to verbalize stuff, like myself, again, I'm biased. I'm a counselor, so we want to express ourselves using word, thoughts. In this way, then group and one-on-one counseling is would be a great platform for you to think about. So our center offer 6 to 8 session short-term model counseling support. The idea is that we want to help a caregiver to maybe look at certain specific issue to tackle, to process, to understand. Because I can only imagine in caregiving there are so many things to deal with. I know even asking you to narrow it down to one thing, that sounds probably ridiculous, right? But because of the time that we have, so hopefully we can kind of help you to narrow it down to 1 or 2 things. We can tackle that within 6 to 8 session, and this is for our registered client. So then you can have access to this free service from one of our counselor, one of our staff. So we have a staff here that are also licensed like myself, that we can do counseling. We're able to do counseling, and most importantly, of course, we understand caregiving needs and concern. So when we work with you, we have that understanding background, so it will be very different. Let's say you receive that from another private therapist without that experience.
Of course. Next slide, please. One of the things that we touched upon throughout this whole presentation was, finding ways to navigate not only your mental state, but also, finding time for yourself overall, right? So, one thing that we always elaborate and we always encourage everyone in the community, ourselves as professionals, anybody that we come across, is taking some time for yourself. And so, we have this flyer called 50 Ways to Take a Break. There's 50 ways on there, but there's probably even more ways that you can come up that aren't even included in there. But just even finding about 5 minutes in your day to take time for yourself, doing something that you would like to do, and in the way that you like to do it. So, for instance, some people like to drink coffee. But let's say you're having a really chaotic day in the morning. So, as you're making your coffee, you're also struggling to put on your shoes and grabbing your bag, and don't forget your keys as you're heading out. Versus, finding just about 5 minutes in your morning to brew up some coffee and sit down, relax, enjoy, maybe read or watch TV and drink your coffee, or just drink your coffee in silence, for instance. It doesn't have to be anything complex, and it doesn't have to be anything new per se, or anything that you wouldn't have tried before, that you wouldn't like to do, something that you enjoy to do and something that you want to do, and just finding a little bit of time throughout your day for yourself. And that's very important for anyone, caregiving or not, professional or not, parent or not, regardless of what you have going on, we're always caring for one another, we're always caring for someone else, whether formally or informally. And so just, you should be your priority. You should find some time to care for yourself as well. So once again, just finding some time for yourself to take care of yourself and to feel good and feel rested, and to find some joy in everyday life, right? So that's something that we wanted to highlight, and that brings us to the end of our presentation with our next slide. Once again, just sharing our information. We are a part of St. Jude Community Services here in Fullerton. We have our website on there where you can find our educational classes on a monthly basis, as well as support groups, sorry, and any other events that we're doing in the community. You can always give us a call or check on our website if you have any questions or concerns. But I just want to take this opportunity to thank Peter once again for sharing his clinical insight with us and partaking in this experience. It's been very insightful, and I think it's very needed, as lots of things just get very complicated as you're caring, and on top of what else is going on in our personal lives. So I think that this is a conversation that's very much needed, and something that it might be beneficial for someone in the current moment or in the future, right? And I also want to take the opportunity to thank those who have joined us again today. And we just want to encourage you guys to join us next month for our next live stream. And I believe we will be embarking on meditation. So something that Peter briefly mentioned, that if you're really interested in that, please join us next month, where we'll be discussing that more in detail. But thank you once again for joining us. Thank you once again, Peter, and we hope to see you next month.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Thank you, Josh.